Welcome back to the Cantina Club. We are here to discuss episode 1 and 2 of Ahsoka, the brand new Disney series that just started last week. So we're going to jump right into this, and I want to go straight to the Rhodian, talk to
What?
Greedo about his first impressions on this.
You sure you want to lose all the viewership immediately like that?
I do.
You want my impressions on the first two episodes? Just quick.
Impressions. Yeah, just
No,
overall your
okay,
quick take on it.
overall, I guess the big headline would be I'm a little disappointed.
Okay.
Not satisfied, I guess. Um, but there's a lot of good things to talk about. The bad things for me were just pacing. To me the direction was flat, like not good use of the actors within the settings. As far as, I don't know how to put it, but like the editing or the direction, something was flat, almost like I was watching a documentary about, you know let's revisit the rebels 10 years later or whatever. Where are
Yeah.
they now, rebels edition. The music was great. There's positives there. The music was, I'd say the music was one of my top elements. And I felt spoiled watching it. I Not as in like, someone was bringing me grapes to eat while I was watching it, and wine or whatever. It was more like I had seen all this before, and there's two reasons for that. All the commercials and trailers we watched and did
Yeah.
reaction videos for, and I feel like all those scenes were in the first episode, pretty much first two, really, because they did have some scenes
Yeah.
with Corellia. And so I just was thinking, how fantastic would I feel right now if I didn't know about these villains, because they're good villains. That's another thing. Soundtrack, the villains are good in my opinion, but I just felt like I'd seen their greatest hits already. And like when they're showing off, when they're doing their combat, there was really no additional scenes from what was in the trailers that I remember. I thought it'd be a more extended, we'd see more. So I just felt like I'd seen the best parts already. And The plot was a big L for me. It just, and again, I feel like I've seen it before, not just from the trailers, from the sequel trilogy, from any movie where they're trying to cram the adventure around a MacGuffin, map, another star map. That's the stuff that disappointed me. Anything to do with the acting or anything like that, I've seen people saying stuff all over the place about how good the acting is, about how bad it is. We don't criticize actors, but just as an overall product, I felt like I didn't feel an attachment to a lot of these characters. Something happens at the end of episode 1 that should have just shocked me, and it really didn't. I just didn't believe it, for one thing. But so anyway, my overall impression is I like it. It's not what I thought it was going to be so far. I don't know how many episodes are left, but I hope
Six more.
6 more. Well, that's
Mhm.
plenty of time to. It's not like it's a big fail. It's just the story is not what I expected exactly, and I felt like the action scenes was what I was really almost most looking forward to. I know a lot of people were really looking forward to a Rebels reunion, but I'm not that big of a Rebels fan, so I was looking at more the overall. I was really looking for some prequel level lightsaber duels and stuff like that. And they did do some homages to Kurosawa in there, the samurai style, the Jedi style,
Yeah.
which I thought was great. But something felt off, and a lot of the camera work on the fighting was close ups, which to me they're trying to hide something when they do that. Just as I'm not talking about martial arts movies, not this show in particular.
Mhm.
So that if they had given me a little more worked on, fleshed out fights that told a story, instead of just being about them fighting. Anyway, that's just a little disappointing. So I
Okay.
hope that doesn't upset anyone.
Oh, that's fair.
Sorry.
All right.
I'm not gonna crap on it though. I'm not gonna give you the joy of just going
The
ballistic.
joy.
I'm not
I
gonna have
was
a
so
rant
hoping.
yet. Now, if you say something really stupid, I might rant later, but more at you than at the show. But that remains to be seen.
Oh, that's just a given. All right,
No,
Gundark, what do
no,
you
it's
got?
me with the stupid statements.
I really enjoyed it. I also had problems with it. Most of the problems that Greedo just mentioned. It was the two primary problems for me were pacing. I thought it was a little too slow. and the treatment of the character of Sabine, I was disappointed in for the beginning of the series. And I'll
Right.
talk about why when we get into details more in a minute.
Okay.
But those were the two primary issues I had. I did love the villains. I loved the lightsaber fights. The action sequences were some of the best parts to me. And
Mhm.
some of the interesting conflict implied about Ahsoka and Sabine's past and the mentorship issue. I thought that was interesting, and I want to find out more about that. So overall, I enjoyed it, but I had some important reservations about it too.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. For me, I enjoyed it. I wasn't, blown away by it. I'm not going to come here and say, "Oh, this is the greatest Star Wars show I've ever seen" or anything like that. There were definitely some disappointing aspects to it, but overall, I was entertained. So to this point, I'm still definitely on board with. I mean, I know we're all going to watch it to the end, no matter what,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm invested at this point. So I'm ready to see where they go next. So I definitely wasn't. I've seen a lot of disparaging comments online about it, which I don't know, shocker, right? About everything in the world. There's going to be bad comments
Yeah.
about stuff online, but yeah, I've just seen a lot of criticisms, and I just don't get a lot of it. So, was it perfect? Absolutely not. Was it entertaining for me? Yes. I enjoyed it. I did love the action so far. I think is really good. Like what Gundark was saying, I thought that was some of the best parts about it. I didn't have as much of a problem with any characterizations as some people seem to have at this point. I mean, that obviously we're only 2 episodes into an 8 episode season. We'll
Yeah. I
see
feel
how
like
we'll
a
see.
lot of that is still to be revealed, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing. It's hard to rush to judgment this early on too, I think. Anyway, that's basically where I sit. I enjoyed it. Definitely has a few issues, but definitely not enough to prevent me from enjoying the show. So, all right, well, let's get into some details. Gundark, why don't you talk about the about Sabine a little bit? You said you had maybe some reservations
Yeah.
about her representation.
Yeah, I had some problems, especially at the beginning, with Sabine, because I felt like, when is this set? It's like 10 years after Rebels. Is that right? Around 10 years.
No, I think it might be a little bit more than that, but yeah,
Yeah, so
roughly, yeah.
it felt like they regressed her character from Rebels. And see, I'm a fan of Rebels. I've watched the show twice now, and I
Mhm.
enjoyed it more, even more the second time I watched it. And I felt like her character really grew throughout the series. And it seems like they regressed her at the beginning of this so that they could enhance that conflict between her and her former mentor.
Yeah, and she's supposed to be an adult at this point, I
Yeah,
would think.
she was acting
And
like a
she's acting like a
teenager.
teenager.
Yeah,
Yeah. Even
it
her
really
environment
bothered me.
looked like a treehouse that a kid would live in or whatever, not,
Well, that
not
was Ezra's
somebody.
place,
That was
wasn't it?
Ezra's place,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
But
was
that's where
Ezra's
she was
place from
based at. That's all
Rebels.
we saw. It looked
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it looked like she lived there to me. I
Yeah.
don't know.
No, it does, yeah.
But the scene at the beginning when they introduced her really bothered me because she's being honored. I love seeing Clancy Brown, by the way, as the writer
Yeah, that
That
was
was
character.
cool.
great.
Yeah,
He
I
was
love that.
wonderful. But she's being honored, and her friends, family, her chosen family of rebels is being honored on an important day, and she just kind of flips off her. I
Yeah.
mean, the heroes
They
of her
played it like it was
planet,
supposed to be funny, but we
Mhm.
didn't have enough context to know why that would be
Yeah.
funny. Like her relationship with them, why she would tweak their noses like that. As far as
Yeah.
we know, Lothal is a place they really fought over that meant a lot to them. So yeah, it's like, why has
And
she
it
got such an
was. I
It
mean,
attitude?
was.
it
That's
was
what
like,
Rebels was. It was like
Yeah,
4 seasons of them fighting for
right.
Lothal. Yeah.
I
I
can't
mean,
believe with the closeness that she had with the characters from Rebels by the time we get to the end of that series, that she would just blow off an
Mhm.
honor to that family, that chosen family of hers. And then the
Yeah.
game of chicken with
yeah,
the
The
X-Wing
ship.
fighters
Yeah.
yeah.
was silly. But see, I can see what they're doing. They're trying to set up some
They're just
type of
establishing her
evolution for
character and
her.
what type.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and some
Mhm.
type of issue between past issues between her and Ahsoka. But I felt it could have been done differently without regressing her so much to like a teenager. So
Yeah, they
I
should
was
have
kind of
put some kind of
disappointed.
context where they had a scene of her saying, I can't do this, or explaining why she doesn't want to go out there, or saying we Ezra died for this, or he's gone, and Kanan died for this, and this is fake, or something. Like, you look what you guys have done with it. You give her some reason to show why she's disaffected, rather than just it's pretty cute if I just bail. Everybody will just like me even more. And then playing chicken, where she could have killed them both. And they're like going, mad respect for your crazy chicken skills there.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't get that. And also, like, that giant long highway, Lethal is known for these long highways that just stretch into God knows. It's like one little destination at the end. But she went, did she go all the way down there for the ceremony check-ins, and then when they get ready to do, she just bails and goes all the way back?
It's like, if you're not going to go, why don't you go at all?
Is this a director's cut where we spend 15 minutes with her, going to the ceremony and then coming back? But there was a lot of things that didn't make sense logistically. I'm sort of jumping subjects, but it's obvious to me that if they're not going to give a damn about plot and logic at this point, they just don't give a damn about it. They just don't. Lucasfilm does not give a damn about plot or logic, and it's over. Their chances to do things that make sense are just out the window. They don't care. And it's not as bad as Obi-Wan series. There was things in Obi-Wan that just boggled my mind. I'm like, what? But it's pretty bad. These first 2 episodes were full of things that made no sense. None to me. I mean, I guess I'm stupid. Am I stupid? You don't have to answer that. I'm pretty stupid. But I know I'm just supposed to relax and have a good time or whatever. And that's obviously all they give a crap about. But you don't just do stupid stuff for no reason. Just to say, like, it feels like a good day to show something about my character. So I'm going to act like an idiot or whatever and do this and that. That makes no sense.
See, it's all those gaps in logic all seem to deal
and
with
what the hell with this star
trying to
map?
make an effort to introduce a character in a particular way. Like the way they introduced the villains at the beginning, it made no sense that captain brought them on board.
Right.
None.
That was
Zero.
just so
No, that made no
absolutely
sense. That
no
was very
sense.
poorly done.
And the star map being on a planet that somehow the woman she interrogated told her where to go, but she never went herself when she wanted it. And then she goes, and these Dathomir witches somehow know where Thrawn is in the future. Like, they're from 1,000 years in the past, and somehow their map's going to lead you to where Thrawn is right now, with no explanation of how that's connected. And then the assassin droids are sent to get the map, self-destruct, which would presumably destroy the map. Right?
That didn't make sense.
So I mean, it's over and over again. I'm not thinking hard about this stuff. Trust me.
I'm
not. But it just clangs. It's like, what is Filoni doing if he can't write a basic outline that makes more sense than this? I'm kind of crapping on it.
I agree. I thought there were some weak ways to introduce characters. It was sloppy in some of those ways. And my main problem was with Sabine, because she's a lead character in the series. She was a central character in Rebels.
It was weak. It was just a weak way to introduce her. They could have done so much more, so much better, so much more symbolism, subtlety, or just something that would make us like her. I don't get the whole thing of, we're going to flirt with making you dislike a character.
To bring
so that you see how cool they are.
Right.
It's like, I know she's a rebel. We all know she's a rebel, but she was also a fine person, I mean, and there's not saying she's not a fine person now, but also I don't understand. Maybe I missed this, but what is the context of just randomly looking around at the people around you and going, I'm taking you as a Padawan? Well, I have absolutely zero ability with the Force. Isn't that kind of like the number one thing? Well, we're changing all the rules, I guess, and just calling you a Padawan, even though you feel nothing.
Right.
You have absolutely no connection
I have an issue
to this
with
cosmic
that too. I
force
don't
whatsoever.
understand where they're going.
Why would you pick this person? Why? Why?
I don't
That
have
makes
a
no
problem with
sense.
that.
You don't.
You don't? Okay.
Even though
I watched. Listen to me.
They literally
shut
take
up for a
blood tests to
second.
see if you can be trained as a
Hello.
Jedi.
So hold your snout for a second. I just rewatched Rebels right before. I mean, I finished it the week before this came out, and I had forgotten from the first time I watched it that the end of it focuses on Ahsoka Tano showing up to train Sabine, and the lightsaber that belonged to Ezra being left to Sabine.
Yeah.
And so that just, I can't believe I forgot. So it seems clear that there's going to
Okay,
be
I feel
some
pretty stupid because I completely forgot that too.
there. So it sets up perfectly what evidently happened in the
Thanks for
intervening
answering my
years.
question.
Is that there was an apprenticeship there that she had some type of affinity for the Force, and
So why
Ahsoka
not
wanted
tell
to
us?
train her. But
The droid told us she had the least of anyone ever, but that's like saying none.
Yeah,
Why
that's
go
basically
through
saying
a
none. That's what I
why
took
call her
from
Yeah.
it.
Padawan? Why not just say, I'm going to show you how to handle this weapon?
yeah,
That doesn't
I
make
can
you a
see what you
Jedi, you
mean.
know? It doesn't make you a Padawan. Why walk the way of the Force if you're never going to advance
And I
to
can see
feeling the
that,
Force and
and I can
using
see
it?
that makes sense too, because Ahsoka's left the order, and she specifies that. So why would you use the old trappings of the order, in working with an
Right.
apprentice?
I mean, if you're friends, just
Um,
call him friend. Hey, friend, my
Yeah.
coworker, whatever, my mission person. You don't have to
But see,
make it into this
that
special
didn't bother
thing.
me as much as it did you, especially because it seemed like it was set up at the end of Rebels, and I felt like it gave more of a foundation to what evidently happened in between the time that Rebels ended and what we see now, and it made me more interested in finding out what happened between them that causes such severe antagonism at the beginning of it, because I did find that interesting that Sabine accused her of abandoning her. And when Ahsoka was talking about that later to Hera, she said, sometimes Hera said, I know you must have had your reasons. And she said, well, sometimes good reasons have bad consequences, And I'm wondering, well, what the heck happened that made Ahsoka walk away? And I did like in that scene how she also talked about it was like a guilt issue with her that she's been carrying about her relationship with Anakin. She said, I walked
Right.
away from him and I walked away from the Jedi. And it seemed like there's some kind of deep regret there that's also influencing her ability to mentor another apprentice. So I'm
We can
interested in all of that.
assume we can assume that she may think if she had been there by his
That she
side that
could
he
have
may
done
not have
some,
fallen to
yeah,
the dark side.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right. And
That
she
if
may
she was
blame
there,
herself
if
for
she was
that.
there, if she went with him to Palpatine's chamber, for instance,
yeah.
and Mace Windu was there and all that she wouldn't have let him chop Mace Windu's arm off. She wouldn't have
Right.
let him pledge himself to, she would have said, no, we can save Padme. We can do this together. You don't need him, because it's a strong relationship that was gone because of interference from the Jedi.
And
It's a
I
whole,
am looking forward to the possibility of seeing Anakin, maybe in flashbacks or something like that, her apprenticeship with him or something, because I know that Hayden Christensen's supposed to be in it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that stuff. That was the most interesting stuff to me about the first two episodes, was finding out more about that relationship. Not so much the map to find Thrawn or whatever, because that is kind of a MacGuffin, like Greedo was
Yeah, that's just a
talking about.
MacGuffin thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
and not only that, but the whole plot right now is a repeat of the sequel trilogy. You've
Yeah.
got Rey and Sabine. You've got sort of an amalgamation of Luke and Rey's relationship with Ahsoka and Sabine. Ahsoka kind of being disapproving and her having to earn it. You've got the fact that everything's kind of gone to hell since the last time we saw the Rebels crew or whatever. They're kind of split up and they have these tense relationships and stuff. You got a star map leading to someone important that's a MacGuffin who's just vanished or whatever, Thrawn and Ezra. It's I don't know. I just why? I'm presuming they have all kinds of time to work on this stuff.
Yeah.
Are they just incapable of writing a really good story, or do they just feel like the good stories episode 3 and we need to get to episode 3 somehow, so use our ideas we've already had just to get us there? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a bridge, but I thought Filoni would care more about these characters than what these first 2 episodes showed to me. I just thought he'd do something different, but that just might be me getting it wrong, like saying maybe I just not feeling Sabine, but maybe everyone who knows the character better, feels her better than I do.
I didn't, and I know her better than you. I've been watching Rebels a couple of times, and so that's why I was disappointed.
We need to move on past it, but Carillion, Sabine, give us something.
Well, I didn't have quite as many reservations. I thought the casting was a great job for one thing.
Yeah,
sure.
the actors
The
were
actress
all
did a
wonderful.
phenomenal job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with your assessment of the introduction of the character. It seems like a really fine line to dance, to say, well, let's introduce this character in a way that may make people dislike her right off the bat,
Mhm.
and like you said, we already know she's a rebel. She was one of the stars of the show called Rebels, and I don't really get the point of that. Uh, but predominantly, I liked her character. I like how she did it. I didn't get the sullen teenager vibe as much as you guys did. I recognize it. I think it is there, but it didn't hit me in the face as badly. I don't think.
Right.
I think part of that is because I think there's just that unknown. Okay, so why did Ahsoka walk away from her?
Yeah.
There's a few years there
Why
where we
why
don't know
didn't
what
she go get
happened.
involved in Mandalore? Also is a big question for me.
Right, right.
That's
Yeah.
such a
That's a
huge
great
part of her
point.
family and her history,
Mhm.
and she was a part of that on the show. Why stick around? I mean, maybe stuff was going on in Lothal that she was needed there, and we just don't know.
Right,
But and there's
because there's a
also an
lot of years of
implication that
unknown stuff that happened.
there's
Yeah.
also an implication that her growing out her hair was like saying, "I'm not participating."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when she's ready to
And then
participate
symbolically, she
again, she
cuts it
gets
again, and
back
now
into
I'm back
shape by
in.
cutting.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
so for years she's kind of been checked out. It seems like at least
Mhm.
at least a year and a half, 2 years to grow the hair like that. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, I
But
agree.
I
But
see what you're saying.
yeah. So, but yeah, so I didn't have as much of a problem, but I definitely do see that there are some issues for sure.
I wasn't surprised she was a little like she was. I was more trying to figure out why she would be a Jedi apprentice. I just if they'd explained that she'd always had this ability,
Hmm.
but I don't remember that from Rebels, and maybe I'm missing it.
Hmm.
She said that Ahsoka did show up to show her how to use the lightsaber, which explains a
Yeah.
lot. I couldn't remember how she got the lightsaber. I figured it was Ezra's, but and the droid even said this was Ezra's, but you've modified it, so now it's yours.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's like saying, well, yeah, the Chevy from down the street, you put new rims on it.
So now
It
it's
was
yours.
stolen. It was stolen, but
Now
now it's
you own
yours.
it.
It's the squatter's rights. You improve the property at all, it's suddenly yours. But all right, so let's for a second let's talk about the bad guys because this is something I can warm up to here. What did you guys think?
I
Corelli,
loved Ray
well, okay.
Stevenson. I loved Ray Stevenson in
Agreed. Yeah, I thought he
yeah,
did
as
it.
the master.
And
Was it
he has a
Balin?
good,
Balin's call?
yeah, Balin Skull. Yeah, he had a great presence. And the way he played the character. I thought
What
was
I
just
loved about
really,
him, I
really
mean,
good.
we're used to from Rebels, we're used to the totally insane like Darth Maul,
Yeah.
villains that are just like way whacked out. And
Hmm.
I liked finally seeing a villain that seemed more like a hero, in
Hmm.
their sense of restraint, and there was a real dignity about the character. It really did feel like a fallen Jedi,
Yeah,
who has some other agenda.
almost more like a Dooku, type
Yeah,
of character
yeah,
than a straight up Sith.
Yeah, and
yeah.
I
I
really didn't
liked
get the
that.
feeling that him killing the rebels was an act of villainy so much as it
No,
was I don't have time to explain to you people,
yeah,
and you're never going to get it. All you guys on either side are just stupidly following orders, and you don't really know what's going on, and you're just in the way. And if you're not gonna cooperate, we have to clear you. You have to clear this level.
Yeah.
and I thought it was interesting at the end when they were talking about trying to kill Ahsoka, and he said that it would be a shame, and
Yeah, and he's right.
And
Morgan Elspeth,
yeah.
he said there are too few Jedi, there are so few Jedi left, and she said, "Are you sentimental?" He says, "I'm just saying the truth,"
Yeah.
and it was just like, oh,
So he doesn't hate the Jedi because he
right,
would
No.
never say that
right,
if he doesn't consider himself one, so he wasn't including himself in that.
yeah,
Because he said we're no Jedi, so he's not including him and his apprentice, although his apprentice is wearing a braid like a Padawan.
yeah,
Hmm.
But he doesn't consider himself Jedi, so he means Luke, Ahsoka, whoever else is out there. That there's a million of them, according to all the comics and stories and stuff. But
yeah. I like
but
that kind of admiration between enemies, and
well, he
Yeah.
probably still feels a kinship because
yes.
Hmm.
who else is he going to get together with and talk about? Hey, how's your force power in this?
Right.
You're a freak if you're alone. If you have kin, you may have some potential allies in the future, or people you could learn from, or enemies. And it's kind of that old thing of like, there's no respectable enemies left when the there's a couple of warlords in Japanese history that when his main rival died, they'd fought for years. He cried
Yeah.
He's like, I'll never know another enemy like this
Yeah.
guy ever, you
Yeah.
know? And so yeah, it's like if you're part of that group, you have respect for those people who are your opposite, almost more so than you do your allies and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And when they're gone, it's like, what's my use here anymore?
Yeah.
You know, when I don't have these people to oppose
Right.
me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought he was fantastic. What about his apprentice? I don't know. I don't even remember the character's name right now. Somebody help me
Shin
out.
I don't
Hati.
was
Shin
it
Hati.
Shin
given in that? I don't
Hati, yeah.
remember it being said in the show.
Yeah, it
Don't
did.
it did? Oh,
That's
okay.
it. Shin, I
Okay.
think at some point. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sin
Okay.
Shin. I think she said Sin Shin
Yeah.
Oh yes,
to
okay.
Lothal.
To Lothal, yeah.
They made a point to use the names a few times of
Yeah.
everybody. I thought that was, one of the smarter things they did in this script that I'm not too sure about. At least if you gotta sell action figures, people know which one the action figure to ask for.
I liked
They
her,
go
and
ahead.
I liked the relationship between her and her master too. I like that seemed like there was a more stable, respectful relationship between
Mhm.
them than there had been between Sabine and
Yeah, it
Ahsoka,
seemed like
which
a
I thought,
father-daughter thing or something,
Right.
yeah,
That's what I
but
got. I got a real
I
vibe
did
like
get the
that.
feeling he doesn't share everything with her
Mhm.
because of the looks she was
No,
giving
definitely
him all
not.
the
Yeah.
time. He
yeah,
would say some things that kind of surprised her sometimes,
yeah,
I think.
Mhm.
And I don't think she's fully clued in on what his master plan is. That's why she even questioned him, like, what is going to happen at the end of all this?
yeah,
And he was enigmatic about it, power.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
But
interested
it's
to see
not
if
real
they do
specific,
explain why she has the sort of the Padawan braid. I'm interested to see if
Mhm.
they explain that.
yeah.
That if they're not considering themselves Jedi, why does she have a braid like that
Yeah, I
from
want
the
to know
old?
more. That is one of the interesting things about this. If you're going to have people wielding lightsabers and wielding the Force, that they're not Jedi, you have an ability to go in different directions story-wise, to figure out why are they not Jedi, what's their agenda, what's going on with them. So I'm looking forward, those are the two things I'm looking forward to most, is finding out more of the background about these villains and finding out more about the relationship between Ahsoka and
And
Sabine.
what's the name of the Dathomirian lady that the
Morgan S.
Morgan
Morgan
Elsbeth.
Morgan
Elsbeth.
Elsbeth. Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
No, I really like this character a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, me
I
too.
liked her since the Mandalorian, and here I thought they did something cool with her, revealing that she was of the lineage of
Oh
the
yeah,
Dathomir
I
witches,
love
even though
that.
they're supposed to be wiped out.
Yeah.
And even the look on her face when she was talking about that stuff, she seemed like a completely different person. Like I was
Hmm.
like kind of scared of her for the first time. I was like,
Yeah.
but she seems to know Balon pretty well because she they seem to be more on the same page as far as no surprise, not many surprises with the way, they seem to trust each other. Like she almost knew he was going to show up for real, even though he's a mercenary. Um, so I wonder what their history there is and what she knows about him and what his, because you can't even trust a bounty hunter in Star Wars. You pay a
Mm-mm.
bounty hunter, you don't rely, you don't ever let them stand behind you too
Yeah.
much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this guy is not a Jedi. We don't know what he is. And if she doesn't know what he is, that
Hmm.
makes him super freaking dangerous,
Yeah,
and his apprentice.
absolutely.
But she seemed very confident and calm with them around, like they're all on the same page. So I would like to know. Um, he's an older character. They could have known each other for years. I think all this stuff could be revealed, but it also could just be kind of swept under the rug and they move ahead.
Right.
But and I also thought it was interesting when she said Thrawn was calling to her through time and space.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
was
Mm.
no, that
kind of
was
weird. And
interesting.
you heard it. It was actually, you could hear him
Hmm.
saying her name.
Right.
So it was like, what is that? Is it something to do with her Dathomir heritage, with the Night Sisters, or does that give her
Right.
It
some kind
must
of
be.
abilities?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that was my first inclination.
She's
Yeah.
getting some kind of vision of the future or of, kind of like what Luke would get with Han and Leia when they're being tortured.
Yeah.
She's just getting something from intense
Getting a
from him,
feeling from it.
even though
Yeah.
he's so far away that she is being
And
pulled towards
what
it.
is this that Balin says? You mentioned his comment about when his apprentice asked, "Well, what are we doing? What's going to happen?" And he said, "Well, for some there will be war." And I thought it was
Hmm.
interesting. He actually said that kind of with regret in his voice.
Yeah.
And then for others there will be a new beginning. And she said, "Well, what about for us? There will be power
Yeah.
beyond imagining." And
Hmm.
and then I'm wondering, like, well, where does he get that from? Has he made a deal with Morgan, something to do with the the Dathomir powers? You know, where is, because he's a mystic, he's wielding the Force.
My guess
so-
here would be that either there's something we don't know, that she has promised him that he's been looking for, like a holy grail, another
Mhm.
quest type thing. Okay. Hidden Force power, something. Maybe the whole Darth Sidious Eternal Life quest again from a different angle.
Mhm.
Because he's familiar with Jedi myths. He's probably familiar with a lot of Force myths.
He
Because he
even
mentioned it in
mentioned
this, the path to
myths at
Perdia
the,
or whatever.
yeah.
So it either has something to do with that, or he's talking about war could be explained as the First Order. New Beginning could be explained as the First Order and reuniting the galaxy and all that. And power might mean that they become the next order of Force
Like the
wielders.
Right. It could be
Jedi,
Which
that.
he
Yeah.
basically becomes Darth Bane or the Prime Jedi or whatever of the
Mhm.
next lineage, and they could last 1,000 years, just like the Jedi did, or 1,000 generations. So
Mhm.
if you're looking at it from that perspective, that is power beyond what most people would ever hope to attain, because it's
Sure.
never been the opportunity to take that before. But it's wide open right now. There's Luke,
yeah.
trying to kind of establish a new Jedi thing. But if you can get allies and crush him and
That was
anybody else
just
who
what I was
represents
gonna
that,
say next. That seems to imply that the new Jedi school might come into it at some point.
Yeah.
yeah,
It could.
if they give you the temple on the new capital or whatever, and you are the new Jedi, you can
Yeah.
set things how you want them,
Mhm.
and your image is passed down to the Force wielding order, and you control the Force basically.
Yep.
Because you go out and get all the people who can use the Force and you train them just like the Jedi did. He who
That's an
controls the
interesting
spice
theory.
controls the universe.
Yeah.
I like that theory. That's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah, that
another way to
works.
eternal life, though. It could be a way to get to the way that Qui-Gon got that he's not aware of. This Balon may not be aware of all that. He's trying to find
Yeah.
the same thing that Luke already is learning about, and Obi-Wan
And
learned
there's
about.
a lot to your mentioning awareness of characters of the past and relationships of others. That was something that struck me in the conversation between Ahsoka and Hera when they were talking about Ahsoka's past with Sabine. And Hera mentioned you must have had your reasons for leaving her, and Ahsoka talked about leaving Anakin and the Jedi Order behind. Does Hera know? Do others know? I mean, those that knew that Anakin was the one who became Darth Vader, do they know her relationship with the person who was Darth Vader? To what degree
How
is
does
her
that come up in
background?
conversation?
Right.
Yeah,
That's a good
really.
question.
So, because that's like a huge issue there. If you're gonna have her training new Jedi or whatever, then
Mhm.
well, you were the apprentice of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So, but Hera, I'm wondering too, if we go back to Rebels, didn't Ahsoka fought Darth Vader in Rebels, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
Ezra saved her through the world between worlds from being killed, evidently, by
Right.
Vader. So at least Ezra knew something about that. I wonder to what degree the other rebels, people like Hera, knew that. And it seems like, though, having said that, that doesn't matter so much to Hera. Hera is just kind of like the mother
I don't think to the Rebel
character.
Alliance it would matter all that much. I
No.
don't think if you're Fulcrum, you go
Yeah.
around announcing that you are Vader's best friend.
No, I agree. I agree.
You know what I mean? I think that's a little too much for people to take
Yeah.
who don't know anything about it. I think you just keep that to yourself. That's deeply personal.
Mhm.
When you're a rebel, your past doesn't matter anyway. It shouldn't
Yeah.
even really be brought up once they trust you. Once you show you're willing to lay down your life for the cause, then there shouldn't be any more question anyway
Yeah.
about your past. But I just think that would complicate that people would not accept that.
And I'm wondering too, to what degree, how much do the villains know about who Ahsoka is? Did they know who she was during the Clone Wars? As I'm wondering
That
too.
is going to come out.
Yeah, that's going to come out. I
There's
think
going to be
so.
banter between them to where we were going to discover that stuff. Yeah.
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 What was their relationship during the Clone Wars before Order 66?
The other thing that occurred to me that could motivate someone like Balon
Mhm.
is he could be a sequel to Anakin. He's got a young female with him. They have a
Mhm.
father-daughter relationship, very much like Anakin would have had, Ahsoka. But obviously the relationship's different. He's older, it's his father-daughter thing. He
Yeah.
could be trying to find the power to bring back his own Padme. This is like an
Yeah,
old
something that's
trope, like
not been revealed yet.
The
Mhm.
Dracula trope that's been used not from the book, but from modern reinventions, where he's trying to find his bride or his lost wife or his
Mhm.
lost love, and the only way to do it is to push through insanity to power, to grasp that power to defy God, basically defy
Mhm.
the rules of creation and bring somebody back, or I could see something like that motivating him the same way it did Anakin. That's what got
Yeah,
Anakin. Maybe something like that got this guy too.
that's
Yeah, it could
interesting.
be.
Yeah,
Because we have a gap there. We have a young female. We have a father figure. We don't have a mother there.
yeah.
That could be something missing for him that he's trying to get back. So just
Yeah,
speculation.
that's an interesting thought because Star Wars loves parallels. So
Hmm.
Right. Yeah, they definitely do that.
And he could totally understand Anakin, better than most Jedi ever did. So
yeah.
most Jedi didn't even know Anakin was married. So
Right, right. So, what do you guys think about the fact that, at least this is the way I took it, it seems like if you have not watched Rebels or Clone Wars, you would be completely lost on this show.
That kind of bothered
Because
me.
It bothers
yeah,
me. I gotta be
thought it was a
honest.
little weird. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want them to spend an hour recapping Rebels and Clone Wars, but at the same time, it just seems weird that everybody who's watching the show already knows everything that's happened, so let's hit the ground running. It just seems
Yeah.
kind of strange because I watched a
It's
few
not
reviews
very
online.
inclusive for the audience.
Yeah.
No, it's not,
It's
unless
not
you watch those
it's not the
shows.
tent pole that Mandalorian was much more that, because it had a simple concept.
Hmm.
We'd all seen westerns before. And if you didn't know anything about Star Wars, you could still figure out who this guy was until
Right.
they
Yeah. You already
started
can
drawing
tell
more
just
things.
by
It was a very simple
what he
concept
did.
that
Yeah.
anybody could watch, and it had a cute, Yoda to bring people in.
Yeah.
This is not
Exactly.
trying. I don't know that this is trying to win new people,
Yeah.
which
I
is
don't know.
confusing
I
to
was
me.
thinking about that too, and I felt like, well, what audience is this exactly geared towards?
The
And it's
hardcore
got
Star Wars
Ahsoka.
audience
Yes,
that's
that's what
Hmm.
it
fractured.
seems
They're
like.
still trying to heal this fracture. They're
Yeah.
still trying to give us something to pull the hardcores back
Hmm.
together, but I just don't know if it's possible because we're all over the place still, and no one thing is exactly going to give us what we want. But yeah, that bothers me because I feel a little false advertising calling it Ahsoka. Even I told you, I think I said my only review was this should have just been called Rebels or
Rebel season
Return of the
5.
Rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Return of
Exactly.
the Rebels or
Yeah.
Fulcrum or something like that. It
Right.
really, so far, the establishing and pulling you in. Uh, Luckily they did a smart thing though, and they gave us a lot of good shots of the bad guys. I'm
Hmm.
telling you, nothing works wonders for a franchise, a movie, a series like the bad guys. The
Like
bad
having
guys
a
have to be
compelling
good.
villain.
Yeah,
Yep.
the smartest thing they did was casting these people and then giving them some scenes where they talk to each other. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't want it to be completely just space meetings, but seeing how they interact, and they're cool, they're really
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
They have some iffy dialogue, most villains do, and we
Yeah.
still don't really know much about them or what they're really trying to do, but they're charismatic. I
Yeah.
want to see them again. I'm hoping we don't go a whole episode without seeing them. It's not a less is more. I want more of them, and I don't feel that way about the heroes right now, frankly. So I think that's done a good thing where where you can watch it and you go, I don't know what's going on, but these guys are pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
This guy's compelling. I don't know if he's a villain yet. He is the villain, but I may end up rooting for him more, by the time this is over. I think that's okay. It just anything to get people in, but they're also trying to tell this Rebels story. And for one thing, it's incomplete. Um, it's a sequel to those last few moments of the Rebels show and Rebels last episode, but we don't have what's his nuts? Who's the big guy? The guy that talks like this,
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Zeb.
Yeah, we
Zeb.
don't have
Zeb.
him. He's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
There's no real reference. We have the portrait to tell us a little bit of what
Yeah.
Rebels was, but
Right.
it feels a little bit like the male energy from Rebels has been completely divorced.
Yeah.
Ezra's
Completely
just
erased at this point. Yeah.
yeah,
There's
he's a
no Ezra.
non-factor.
There's no Kanan, obviously, and there's no Zeb.
No,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
Thrawn either.
You're right. Not even Thrawn. Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the plan was as far as like other than just pleasing Star Wars fans. and they fans had to have been the right age and the right mindset to watch Rebels at all. I didn't
Mhm.
watch Rebels at
Yeah.
first.
I didn't
had
either.
no
It took me
interest.
years to watch Rebels.
Yeah, no interest, zero. And then when I watched it, I thought, oh, it's okay. It's a little more than what
Mhm.
I thought it was going to
It's
be.
better than I thought it
And
was
then,
going to be. Yeah.
and then it got better and better, and I gave it
Mhm.
more room, in my more room to make mistakes, to go. I gave it a lot of grace and just accepted it. But I wasn't of that generation it was made for, really.
Mhm.
So they have a cool opportunity here because they're bringing characters from the last 20 years together,
Mhm.
literal 20 years of our lives, but
I think they should have made it a little more uh palatable for audiences that weren't familiar with the cartoons.
yes. And I
Something
feel
more
like I
Mandalorian.
should know what my main character wants. And this Ahsoka,
They really haven't talked about that.
I
They
don't
really
know
haven't
what she
shown that.
wants.
Yep.
I don't know what she's
Exactly.
doing. The war's over, right? Is she
Mhm.
just why not have a scene where she's talking to Hera and she's like, I can feel it. This is not over,
Mhm.
and I still have something I have to
She
do.
did tell Sabine that they had to have that map because it was to prevent another war.
Another war,
she
yeah.
senses that if Thrawn comes back, the Republic's gonna fall.
She
So
said that if Thrawn
Yeah.
comes back,
so
the
I
Republic
get
will
that.
fall.
Yeah.
No, she didn't say those exact
She
words.
just said there'd
but
be
she
another
said-
I
war.
missed
Yeah.
that. Yeah, all I heard was there's another war. But see, when a Jedi's talking to you, you got to check both sides of their mouth because they could just be manipulating you, telling you exactly what would persuade you. It may
Now,
not be what they
having said
believe.
that, that's interesting. One of the most interesting things to me was the way Ahsoka manipulated Sabine. There was
Mhm.
the implication that she wouldn't have even gone back to Sabine if she didn't have to have her to read that map.
Mhm.
And when she
Oh
went
my
back
God.
to her, she was like, well, how do you get her to cooperate? She goes back to her and she says, first thing out of her mouth is, I have a way to find Ezra.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
wasn't,
Yeah,
we
that's a
got to stop a
manipulation
war,
tool.
we
Yeah.
have to stop Thrawn, and
Right.
so again, it's like, I like the kind of iffy relationship between the two of them. It really makes
And frankly,
about it.
knowing what we know, which is nothing, if I'd been Sabine and I was gonna be angry about something, I would say, you mean the guy who's probably dead 100 times over
Yeah.
because of how long it took you to come back and say you have a way to find him? Where have
Yeah.
you been? What the have you been doing?
Yeah.
What have
Yeah.
I been doing? Well, didn't we, wasn't this one of our main things? We just let him go off into hyperspace. And what have we done this whole time? Now we just suddenly
Yeah.
decide to find him because that and then the map. Oh my God, the stupid Rubik's Cube thing. What was that? You need to go find a specific person to just turn it 3 times.
Yeah.
Can't you see there's grooves in it? You didn't try turning it.
You didn't match up the grooves.
Just matched up the lines. It looked like a tennis ball. You just match it. Oh, there's the logo. And then it came to life. They needed an artist of her specific abilities to do that. If she had taken the paint and dipped it in the paint and let it flow all over it and then sound symbols of different colors or something, which I know sounds dumb too, but at least it would have been something rather than just turning the damn cube or the damn sphere.
Yeah, that was weird. That's kind of sloppy.
It's like I expect
writing,
you to go, Ahsoka, have you tried turning this thing? Oh, of course I tried turning it, like she didn't, but she's like,
Yeah.
oh, of course I did. Oh, that direction. No, I didn't try that way.
Say, I'm glad they released the two of them together because the first one was just really too slow. The second one gave us a little bit more, although not enough, and it had a really great lightsaber battle in it. So I'm glad they had two of them together. I think that bumped up the rating. What will be the rating for me?
The second one brought me way more into it than the first one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, if it hadn't been for that second one, I don't know. I think I'd be even harsher than it happened. But I wanted to bring up, what did you guys think of the closing credits?
I love the
very
closing
Game of
credits.
Thrones-ish.
Okay, that's what I was wishing for.
That's why I love it.
Very Game of Thrones-ish.
Almost.
why I
I mean, it was great. The music's great.
Yeah,
and
the music was
graphic is
phenomenal. Yeah.
But it's almost like they decided to have a map just to do this Game of Thrones.
Just so they can do
thing
the Game
at
of
the end.
Yeah.
the Game of Thrones thing at the end. Yeah.
Now it does imply some excitement if you go on a mission exploring all these places on the map and
Mhm.
connecting these two galaxies. They could do a whole thing with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did like it though. And the first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh man, what cool music! It's kinder,
Yeah.
The
whatever.
music
Cool
is
music.
wonderful.
The graphics kind of cool. I guess I see why they did the map now." And then the second time, after the second episode that came on, I went, "Oh shit, Game of Thrones!"
Yeah, it's Game of
I don't know why it
Thrones,
took me so long to think of it. I mean, they ought to get sued over that shit. That was pretty bad. But anyway, I want to touch on that. Yeah, it was cool, but it's kind of like, hey, we did something cool, but you might not like it because it's exactly like this other thing.
right.
We
It's a
already
direct
spent
ripoff
we
of
already
this other
spent
thing.
16 million on it. Okay, we'll put it on there.
I thought it was kind of referencing the world between worlds too. So
I'm
that's
sorry, but I think we all got caught in a trap with this world between worlds thing. This is not going to be in the show. This is like the biggest MacGuffin disappointment ever. That we all the fandom everywhere was convinced this had all to do with the world between all fucking worlds or whatever. It has not one damn thing to do with it. Not one, except that the
editor
character's
shakes his
walking
head.
around because the main character's walking around because she was pulled out of it, and then it collapsed. And guess what? It collapsed. It's gone. It's nowhere to be freaking found, and it's certainly not appearing in this film. Just get over it. I don't want to hear any more speculation about it. It's forbidden
Since
words.
when
There
does
is no world
something
between worlds.
collapsing or being blown up in Star Wars means it's gone? Never.
Since the world between
Yeah.
worlds, evidently. Because all it takes is some lines in the background and some ruins, and every single fan thinks it's the world between worlds. And, it's like, how disappointing. We have some kind of hope for some kind of cool story where maybe they can right some wrongs. But no, you can't write what isn't wrong, right?
Exactly.
It was done on purpose. It's perfect.
But we do still need to talk about the end of the first episode with the now what is considered the Star Wars equivalent of stubbing your toe, which is getting stabbed with a lightsaber through the gut.
It's the old what do they call this soap opera thing where, oh my god, my wife's been in a terrible car crash, and they go and she's in a coma for like a week, dying, and they go, well, we removed her spleen. And she's perfectly fine. It's like she had some cartilage trauma and we removed her spleen. It's like, meanwhile, so if you're on the soap opera long enough, your spleen has been removed 20 times. It grows back, I guess.
I was looking at the wound when it happened and like, okay, what major organs? There were no major organs, I think, that it hit. So she's fine.
Yeah, she only weighs 85 pounds. So there's there's all kinds of room for the major organs to be missed.
Sure.
She's 5 foot, 65 pounds, like the size of Yoda.
Meanwhile, the captain that got skewered at the beginning of the episode was instantly dead.
Unfair.
The best meme I've seen about that scene so far is there's a shot of the saber going through her midriff, and the next one it just has it's a black screen and it says Qui-Gon Jinn has left the chat.
Train him, Obi-Wan. I'll be over here.
That was perfect. Yeah, poor Qui-Gon. He's the only one who apparently in the history of Star Wars has died from a stab to the gut.
Okay, so what do you guys think about that? Why did they do that? Just for drama? Or do you think it worked?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't.
Did anyone believe she was dead? Anybody?
No, of course not. Of course not.
No.
They're never going to kill one of your main characters on the very first episode.
And I think she should have had her hand cut off or something significant.
Yeah, something more Star Wars-ish like that.
Yeah. You got to pay if you're going to challenge someone more powerful than you because of your foolish actions. You were warned, and you get called on the warning. Just some bed rest. Take 2 of these and some bed rest.
It's on bed rest for a couple of weeks.
It's like, no, I'm too rebellious and badass to actually do this bed rest. It's like an 80s, action hero, like shot 800 times, and like pull the thing out yourself. The needles out of your arms yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And then go fight the bad guy one more time.
Yeah,
but
I had a bit of an issue with that.
Yeah, and why didn't she finish her?
Right, that's the other thing. It's like you stab her through the gut, then why don't you just chop her head off?
Or just pull it up.
Well,
It
yeah,
cuts through,
Yeah.
cuts through super steel doors this thick.
yeah.
You know,
What do you
just
think he's
move
gonna
it,
do to
just
human
twirl it,
flesh?
move it around a little, stir some stuff up.
Yes, stir
It's
some
game over.
stuff up.
Just draw a picture, a figure eight, anything. Kanji, make a kanji.
Yeah.
This girl is dead in kanji. But yeah, no, I think I was disappointed in that fight. I loved the intro where they
Mhm.
face off against each other, and this girl's like, again, they told a little bit of a story here because I think Sabine pulled her saber first.
Yeah, she did. She ignited her
Yeah,
saber
she was
first.
the
Yep.
aggressor. Of course, she was the one being robbed, so she had
Yeah,
every
well,
right to.
yeah.
But still, she was like, "I'm bringing it to you, bitch," and the girl said, "Okay, then."
Well, you want
know?
it, you got it. Yeah.
And I don't know if she was toying with her
I
or
think she was
what,
toying
but
with her. Yeah.
just seeing what she had,
Hmm.
and then took her out, but took her out in the like most least lethal way you probably can, as far as like,
Apparently so.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was okay, and it'll set up a rematch, but it could have been a little more between those characters there. It's something besides just them just fighting it out over the map or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But okay, so on to episode 2. Sabine had a flesh wound.
So we haven't really talked
Come back,
about
I'll bite your kneecaps off.
we haven't really talked about Hera. So what's everybody's thoughts on the portrayal of Hera in the 2 episodes?
I loved the actress playing Hera. I in the polls, in our Cantina Club polls about which characters we were looking forward to most from Rebels and
Yeah,
in
you
live
voted for
action,
her,
she
right?
was she
Yeah.
was. I wanted her. I do still want to see her in
Her child.
Kanan's child.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. I liked seeing her work with Chopper in that second episode when they were trying to put the tracking device on the escaping
Yeah,
ship.
I like that scene. They look like
Yeah.
straight out of Rebels. Yeah.
And I liked her the kind of motherly type character that she had. It was similar to Rebels, where she's kind of the negotiator and the mediator between
Mhm.
difficult people, you know, and
Right. Yeah.
trying to
So she's trying to be the
settle
moderator
down
between
difficult people,
Ahsoka.
yeah, bring them
Yeah.
together and make them step back and think a second about what they're doing. So I liked that aspect, but I still felt like she didn't have enough to do or something. I don't know. There seemed like something missing where
They're blatantly saying like this is a subplot character.
yeah,
She's going to be involved in the subplot of trying to warn people or whatever the case may be, and she may show up at the end, as the cavalry or whatever, but she's not going to be on this is going to be a 2-man show.
Yeah.
Or for right now.
Mhm.
Sabine and Ahsoka are the focus, and they're kind of made that obvious.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed how they used her in this episode. I liked the whole scene where they went to the shipyards and they sort of ended up exposing the sort of the Imperial presence underneath, and kind of got that out in the open. I thought that was really cool, and I really like, just from a visual standpoint, I thought the whole battle going up through the atmosphere was just phenomenal. The way it was filmed, the way it looked, I was completely captivated into that scene. I just thought it was so well done. So kudos to all the special effects people, the director, cinematographers, everything that did it, shot it that way. It was really, really good.
And I like the choice in there. There was one moment where Hera's looking out of the cockpit while she's flying away and seeing Ahsoka fighting the 2 opponents, and that was a way she has to keep going, and that was a wonderful moment. And
what I loved about that was that she didn't even hesitate; she just kept going.
Yeah, she just followed.
She's like, oh, she's got it.
Yeah.
she's got it. That's her thing. Lightsabers are her thing.
That's the way she was in Rebels. I felt like her portrayal was more consistent, maybe, than most of the characters of what she was in Rebels.
With what she was in the show. Yeah, I agree.
She understands what a team is. It's like the worst thing you can do is disrupt the plan to go try to help someone when they don't even need it.
Yeah.
It's like you stick to your part of the mission, or the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
That was a really cool, because that may not even been filmed that way. They just may have edited it together. That was a good visual storytelling there. It was cool. Yeah.
I was unaware until just a couple of days ago that the actress playing Hera is actually Ewan McGregor's wife.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know this. There's
I
another
didn't know
Star
that.
Wars
That's,
connection. That's kind of
yeah,
interesting.
that's interesting.
I
I wanted
did
to
like
say
Chopper in that
something.
scene too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did too.
Chopper was wonderful.
I think he could have looked really fake or weird or something.
Yeah, they
but
did
they
it
made
really
him
well.
look exactly like he's supposed to, and he still
Yeah.
felt like a three-dimensional object
Mhm.
in this world or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah, he lived up to being another good Star Wars droid, so that was good. The lightsaber duel, I wanted to say something about. I really, for both the lightsaber duels in the first two episodes, or the ones between Ahsoka and her opponents,
Mhm.
one of the things I loved was the stillness at the beginning. Even when she's fighting the droids, the assassin droids in the first episode, what really struck me is the moment she looks up and sees the droid, and the droid is just so still.
Mhm.
It's just
Just
looking at
motionless
her,
completely.
and
Yep.
its cape is waving in the wind, but it's just still. And it's just, it was so ominous. And there's the same moment when this new person shows up with the mask, and we don't know who is that. Balin, who is it under there? I
Right.
don't think it's Balin.
No.
And that person is just still and looking at her, and it's kind of like, oh, it upsets stakes of the battle. There's something going on between them, like in the samurai moment, where you're staring each other down before the actual physical conflict even begins.
Mhm.
That was really well done. And then I loved the fighting in that sequence too. The lightsaber fighting was neat.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I thought they
So I
did a really
really
good
I
job
do wish he had
choreographing
said
that.
something to him though, like, I know you're not a real Inquisitor because I killed all them.
That'd have been a great line.
It's like, Inquisitor, huh? I got a question for you. How can you be an Inquisitor when they dead?
Yeah, I killed all of them.
So who is that? Who do you think it is? Are
This
you
is
I
the
still
don't know,
thinking
question
it's
for the
Ezra?
Inquisitor.
they keep referring to the character as Marok, so we'll see what that actually turns out to be.
Hmm.
I have a theory. I have a theory, but
Mhm.
I don't know if we want me to go into it right now. So anyway, we'll go into it later. I think it could be something to do with Star Killer
Hmm.
with the video game
Yeah, interesting.
Force Unleashed.
Oh.
Okay.
He was Vader's kind of lost apprentice.
Oh yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about.
there is a rumor that Sam Witwer is listed in the credits of the show. So either he's and I haven't looked for myself. So either he's done a voice, but that's where Sam Witwer really got his start was that character in the Force Unleashed
Yeah, it
games,
is.
as far
Yeah.
as in Star Wars.
As far as in Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah, he was well established before that, but
Yeah.
um so I think it's a little suspicious that there's another Force using red, saber wielding
Mhm.
someone that cool and composed. He's not acting like an
Yeah.
Inquisitor at all, in my
No.
opinion. And someone who's joined to a former Jedi who may be willing to take in someone who, you know what I mean, who was brought up by evil and not the typical Jedi thing and all that, but not an evil person necessarily. I think there's a
Yeah.
theme here where I think these bad guys aren't necessarily evil.
Completely evil. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree.
So it'd be very shocking to me if that was Star Killer himself, because he was in the games, he was complete badass. Like
Mhm.
he might be the one that could really take Ahsoka. I don't think
Ahsoka down, yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen her do quite what he could do. She's done some amazing things, but then again, the Force rises and falls with people. They don't just attain levels of power and stay there. As we've seen in Star Wars, a lot of that's just for the convenience of the plot, but a lot of it is just explained as in the Force isn't always with you, or you get older and weaker, or you lose touch with what you're supposed to be really in touch with, and therefore you don't have as much of the Force with you, whatever the case may be. But
Yeah.
you drink the anti-midichlorian drink and lose some of those cells. But no, that was a cool fight. That was just my favorite fight of the show so far. I liked the throne helicopter saber that went all the way around the world and came back to him.
Yeah, that was
he's just like doing his nails, like waving. on the phone. Hey, what's up? Yeah, it's just Saber's coming back. I gotta go. It's right here. And the way she kind of cockily leaned to one side and let it go
Yeah,
past
just
her.
kind of
Yeah.
barely moved. Yeah, exactly.
Now I would have liked to have seen him like go, like he's waiting for Saber and then do this. And it turns sideways.
Turns sideways.
Yeah. And then she's doing the limbo to try to survive. But no, there seems to be a lot of I like that they're putting these people directly in conflict already.
Yeah.
So that we have a context, not
Yeah, they
waiting
don't
till the
wait till
very
like
end.
the season finale or
Right,
something.
right.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
seeing who's going to line up against each other already.
Yeah.
And but I think this person's wearing a mask for a reason.
I
And
agree.
I've been fooled by this stuff before,
Mhm.
with the Mandalorian and everything. And I would be perfectly happy if he's just his own guy and has nothing to do with anything already established canon. That'd be totally fine. Whoever he is, give him a cool story. He's got a cool costume, fights great, or him or
Yeah.
her.
Mhm.
It's a win-win, right? We need villains, we need
I
action
agree.
figures.
I agree.
So
Yeah,
So what
exactly.
did we think of we haven't really talked about Ahsoka.
That's true.
Rosario Dawson's performance as Ahsoka. I want to say that I really love her in that role. Even though I feel like the way she's being portrayed may have contributed to some of the slow pacing of the first two episodes, because she's playing her so restrained, but I feel like that's right. I don't think
I
it's the
agree.
fault of that character or her acting that the pacing was off. I think they needed to do something to compensate for that. If you're going to write the character that way,
Mhm.
you need to have other characters that carry the pace more or something.
Yeah.
But I love the way she looks at things, and I can see what's happening in her head when she's looking
Yeah,
from
you can
thing
see
to
the
thing
wheels
and
turning.
how
Yeah.
she changes, and she commands the screen at moments when she's there alone and like looking at stuff. So I really enjoyed her performance, and I like how her again, I go back to that conversation with Hera because I really like that. How she was just like, why did Sabine take the map away? I told her not to take, there's a kind of, she's got blinders on too,
Mhm.
in terms of mentorship that I found really interesting. It may have
Oh,
come
it's
from
hilarious
her.
because she would have been the first person to do that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Well, she
yeah. And
was,
so she's
yeah,
not, yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
she's
she's not
constantly in trouble
seeing.
for
Yeah.
overreaching.
Yeah.
She
And I
tried. She
think,
tried to lead troops into battle, and one like in the movie where they introduced
yeah.
her or something. Before she showed up, and 5 minutes later, she's trying to defy orders and doing what she thinks
Oh,
was the
yeah,
best strategy and all
absolutely.
that. So,
Yeah. So I think that's just interesting the way they developed the character and I think it sets up some good antagonism between her and her apprentice that I'm looking forward to seeing how it works out. But they need to pick up the pacing with the other elements of the story to support
I
that character.
I just wish I knew what she wanted, because
Yeah.
Ahsoka's a character that has always been following orders, placed in time and space, told where to go, commanded by others,
Mhm.
And then she expresses herself in those situations, and then Anakin became important to her because of their relationship, but she was placed there, she was told to go there. um Once she left the Jedi Order, that was her opportunity to say what's important to me. And I feel like half of her life has gone by since we've seen her last, and she dedicated that obviously to trying to overthrow the Empire, but I don't know exactly what's her ultimate goal. Like, I haven't seen her have a conversation where she goes, if only I could find that one planet where I felt at peace, or what I mean? Like
Mhm.
what's internally driving this character to do it. Why does she feel like she has to be involved in this
Yeah.
particular thing?
Yeah.
Why isn't she
Absolutely.
sticking with Luke? Why, but she's saying she has her own path to follow. And she's convinced. I just want to know why
But
she's
also
convinced Thrawn's
this
important.
may
Why
be
is it up to her to do,
this may
Mhm.
be demanding that we put too many pieces together from the other shows, though, because it seems to me like if we are putting together those pieces, that's been kind of established in the other shows. The fighting against Thrawn and then in Rebels and then showing up in Mandalorian looking for Thrawn
Mm-hmm.
specifically, you know, and so it seems like she's on this mission and then
Yeah.
telling Sabine in these episodes, this is a war that's coming. Do you not realize this? You know, why are you
Mm-hmm.
going to mess with this map when it could be the key to preventing a war? It seems like she realizes there are some major stakes going here and she wants to do what she can to prevent that. So I don't feel as much of a questioning about her motives, although I think what may happen is that as they tease out the relationship between her and Sabine and what happened to them in the past, maybe we'll find out more about that. And so why did she quit looking for Ezra? You know, why
Yeah.
what exactly, because something important happened that made her drop Sabine without, or at least this is what they're implying, without fully explaining to Sabine. You know, because she said, I did it for the right reasons, but those are bad consequences.
I
So there
assume that
was
it has to do
something.
with the conversation she had with Din Djarin about, I'm not the right person to
Yeah.
train
Mm-hmm.
because I've seen what attachment does, and he's
Sure.
attached to you. And I think Sabine's humanity and her lack of discipline or focus for that Jedi mentality puts her at risk for the same kind of things. And there may have been some incident that happened where she's like, I just can't.
She might be another
I shouldn't be
Anakin.
taking on I shouldn't be taking on students, and then she passed that on, on Grogu too. She's like, this thing hasn't changed. Whatever restriction she's putting herself hasn't changed yet. She doesn't have faith that she's the one to do it, especially when there's a guy like Luke out there. Now, because they have a common thing and Ezra and all
Mm.
that, I guess she's also, I feel like she's waiting for that, or maybe she was partially waiting for Sabine to show that she was really serious about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's part of it
And
too,
that's
because
what
that's kind of what we get at the end of the second episode is we get
Mhm.
that whole almost samurai-like sort of thing of her sitting with her helmet
Yeah,
and laying out her armor again, for the first time in who knows how many years, and just kind
sort
of,
of
and,
sacrificing part of her identity with the
Yeah.
yeah,
hair,
making that
and
whole
That
thing
was
of
the
cutting
best
her
part for
hair.
Sabine.
yeah,
That was the best thing I thought
Hmm.
for Sabine. I just hate that they had to they felt they had to regress her character to bring her to that point, you know.
Probably so. I think so
But
too. Yeah.
I wish they had some opportunities to do some things like, and maybe I just missed it.
Hmm.
But I would have liked to seen more Sabine revealed in her art. Now they showed some of her doodlings from when last time she was on Ahsoka's ship. She
Yeah.
lived in this little thing evidently, and
Hmm.
she wrote on the wall. But I didn't get much more from that other than just her style. Her that she's always going to be drawing on things. I wanted to know what is she upset about? What's the deal with her and Ezra? Because Ezra called her a sister in the
Hmm.
mm,
transmission, which I thought was an odd choice of words, and maybe not in Star Wars, but I just didn't expect him to say that. And then also with Ahsoka, I think I told Carillion this. I would like to see some sadness from the character, um, because then I could, if she just had some moments where she had some kind of deep emotion, because the character seemed to defy the Jedi ideal in that she was always emotional, always, full of whatever it was, enthusiasm. Yeah, I want to, like I said, I just want to know a little more, like what her regrets might be, why she didn't move on after, the events of the last season of Rebels, and that sadness that she's got to carry with her from that scene of all the dead clones, that were
yeah.
wearing her skin
Yeah.
pattern on their
Yep.
as to honor her on their helmets, and she saw them all die. She couldn't rescue them. Now, see, this is the great makings of a grudge, right?
Yeah.
When you see all your friends, the ones willing to go into battle with you, you actually value their lives, unlike a lot of military generals and stuff, and they all die, and you can't do anything, and it's because of the Emperor's programming. Um,
Hmm.
Now, maybe she knows something that they're trying to bring the Emperor back or something. Now, this would be interesting to me. It's like she's not the one to settle that grudge, but maybe she thinks she can,
Hmm.
fate wise, we know, as far as we know, unless there's another emperor clone out there or something. But
Mhm.
but Thrawn might be the one that she sees as like, uh the empire is this poison, fruit of the poison tree, and then whatever's
Hmm.
coming from the empire is going to be just as bad. And even the Tales of the Jedi episode where it showed her as an adult and she fought the Inquisitor at the end, it showed her trying to adjust to a normal life for a little bit of, to be a normal person. And she knew already, but the characters didn't. One character made a choice to obey the law, thinking they were going to be rewarded by this new empire. And instead, they're all killed, they're destroyed, everything's overturned. And so this does make a through line where she could be like, my mission is to end this, any tendrils of this empire once and for all. That's what I've dedicated my life to. I just wish I knew that a little bit. Something, I wish there was some passion there. And that comes back to the portrayal of the character. But I know Carillion has some interesting things to say about some things you read online, statements about how people are really unhappy with her character and her portrayal. But my point is, if you're that unhappy, you got to just blame the man, Filoni, because he's right there. He's in the room with her, presumably directing her and how to react, how to stand, how to deliver lines. If he doesn't like it, if he doesn't feel like it's Ahsoka, he can change anything he wants, get her to do it again, whatever. Say, no, this is where Ahsoka's at right now. This is where she came from. I need more of this type of coming feed from the character. So it's not her.
No, it's definitely not Rosario Dawson.
No, I think she's perfect. This is the direction Filoni wants to go. And part of it is just basic storytelling. You move characters through phases. She's not young Ahsoka anymore. She's not a firebrand anymore. She's got to have a side of her that's sad, that's seen the cost of all this. I mean, there's been a huge cost. And she's basically a lone survivor, out of everybody that was important to her. She's a lone survivor. And so she's not that person anymore. And you've got a younger person, in her orbit, that they're now trying to display those same qualities that we saw in the earlier Ahsoka. Right. Thinking they'll get lightning in a bottle again, and people like this character just as much, But Ahsoka wasn't liked all that well to begin with when she had those qualities as her most
pretty universally hated at the beginning. Right.
So you got,
including by me.
But it's all part of the journey. And sometimes I wish they wouldn't follow formula quite so much. But
I agree,
because I still know Ahsoka's in there. I know that same girl is in there still. She's just taken years and years and years to contain herself and to find her power and her certainty. And she doesn't dare let anybody know her doubts, probably. Because she's got to keep her forward momentum and everything. She can't let on that she has any weaknesses or anything. She's alone, basically. So I get all that. But and I wanted to ask you about that, Carillion. What do you think about her portrayal? And
I like it. I think it's where it needs to be right now. This is a character who's now in her mid-40s. This is not teenage Ahsoka that we saw in the Clone Wars. That's the issue that I had with some of these people online that were saying, oh, where was this? The character was always so energetic and upbeat and optimistic. And I was like, yeah, so were you probably when you were 15. And now
before your mentor became Darth Vader.
When you skipped to work, when you skipped to your first job thinking you were going to get promoted because you work hard.
Right. So that's just my argument. It's like, okay, nobody has 15-year-old energy when you're 45. It's just not how it happens. And the fact that the thing that she's gone through, the things that she's seen, like Greedo just painted, she's a soul survivor. She really is. And that's going to bring a certain level of stoicism to your personality. You're not just going to be this fun-loving, hey, I'm this quirky, character now. It's just not. If she did play it that way, it would be horrible. It would be unrealistic and terrible. Hey, Sky Guy, she's not that character anymore. I like how she's portraying her. I think it's realistic.
That's the essence of Revenge of the Sith. All that innocence was brutally murdered.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to survive in a post-apocalypse, your entire world was shattered, destroyed. You were thrown out, or you left the stuff you really believed in before that.
I'm wondering, are these people who are objecting to that? I wonder, are they mainly Clone Wars fans? Because in Rebels, she was already showing this evolution. In
Rebels, she was already showing the evolution. You're absolutely correct on that. Yeah, but this person specifically referred to Clone Wars Ahsoka. Yeah.
So to me too, one of the main characteristics of Ahsoka, the Clone Wars character, was her friendly competition with Anakin and Obi-Wan and other people around her. She was very cocky. They were they missed the part where Jedi aren't proud and don't seek adventure and don't compare kill counts and everything. What I mean? And they were constantly jabbing each other about who was more powerful, who could handle a situation better. Well, guess what? There's no one left for her to do
Yeah.
that with.
Mhm.
She's all those comments, she just has to keep to herself. All that
And
part of her
not only that,
personality.
that person she loved, the last time she saw him, he tried to kill her.
Right.
She was just saved just
And he's
by
basically possessed by demons from hell. You know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
he's the worst kind of he's left in the worst state you can imagine.
Yep.
And she knows all
Yeah.
about that. She's one of the few people that knows all about that. She can feel what he's going through, probably, you know, and she can't do it. Again, powerless to stop it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's got to be horrible. But you know, it's like you have those relationships where you're cocky with people that you can be cocky with, and you're in that, you know, they were in a war together and all this stuff, but they're gone. You can't go to the rebel general and go, I bet you I get 15 starfighters today and you're 10 or whatever.
Exactly.
You know, they're just not going to want to hear that from you.
Yeah.
So that's not your job anymore or your role anymore. She had to mature kind of past that.
Absolutely.
So it's sad you're not seeing that same exact character, but those relationships are gone, and she's just to me, she's a more contained unit. But Filoni has got to know that character like the back of his hand.
Of course.
Obviously,
Yeah.
he's doing what he wants. So, we may not, in the end of the day, we may like it or dislike it, but
Yeah.
but,
I mean, that's the
at
thing.
least
You
he's
just
the
I'm
gotta
one
really
doing it.
liking it so far.
At least he's the one doing it. At least, you know, it's not
I
someone
agree.
else.
I agree. It's not someone else. I mean, I just think that, I mean, anytime you deal with a character and this huge passage of time, you're going to have an adjustment to the new personality of that character. Like you said, it's unrealistic to think that, 30 years goes by and, however much time goes by and, oh, they're the same person they were 30 years ago. Nobody is like that. Nobody's the same person they were 30 years ago, so I think that's unrealistic for people to put those expectations on the character and on Filoni.
Absolutely. Okay, about Corellia. For one thing, I was right. I'm pretty sure I said
Yeah.
we were
You
going
said
to Corellia.
Yeah. Yeah, you
I also said that I had a feeling shipyards and supplies were going to be a big part of the plot.
Mhm.
And, again, they're fighting over resources. How the New Republic is so silly. I have no idea how they could be as stupid as they are, but they are doomed with how dumb they are. But I did want to bring up, we got yet again an example of Imperial minions who seem willing to throw their lives
Yeah,
away.
I didn't
so
get that
odd.
scene. Yeah, what is
Yeah, and then
for the Empire?
Ahsoka has the gall to turn around and Harris says, "Why do you think all this is happening?" Greed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
No, I thought that
well,
was
your
just-
chance of getting a promotion, a fat bank account, aren't so good when you go for the Empire
Yeah.
and start firing
the
randomly.
businessman dude was the
at the
greed,
Jedi.
but yeah, you're right. The other people, like that's fanaticism. The
Mhm.
It's the
businessman
same
dude was the greed.
fanaticism we saw in The Mandalorian, and I
Yeah.
find it extremely intriguing because
Yeah.
it is unlike what we've seen in the past from the Empire itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that she's got that idea down right, or they're just giving some kind of weird. Why would you give these overt signals of people taking suicide capsules?
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause it's one thing to say, well, they know a secret and they just don't want to share it, but they're dying.
They're
They're
dying
literally
for it. They're
choosing
dying to keep it secret.
die
Yeah.
or risk. Yeah, that's a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah.
They've got to be super invested, or something is wrong with them. You know. So which is it, and what
Maybe
the hell is
both.
going on? Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. No, that's a great
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
And
I
maybe
found that
maybe
I was
we'll
shocked
find out
by
more
that.
about
I was
that.
shocked.
I'm hoping, like, because we were seeing that Mandalorian, we were talking about how much we enjoyed that Mandalorian, and I want to know more about that. Was that just an error on their part that they were trying in terms of the plot, that they were wanting to make some conflict, or is there really something going on where there is this kind of cult, imperial cult underlying
Right.
It's like a
everything, and you have
cult. It
cult
really
members
is,
and,
yeah.
And so is the New Republic. They're like freaking literally brainwashing people to be good.
oh yeah,
No, be good Republicans.
and drugging them,
Good
and
Republicans.
drugging.
Yeah, it's a cult. Like nothing bad. I see nothing bad.
I see
You feel
nothing
any? You
bad.
feel any frustrations? Oh hell no! I feel no frustrations. Just don't give
Yeah,
me the
that-
machine again.
That
Because
stuff
if
is very
anybody accidentally
interesting.
spins that knob for eternity, it's like using the jackhammer for the dentist drill. Yeah, it's like, oh, another F-bomb.
I
And a
got
lot
about
of
5 of
YouTube
this
again.
episode I gotta find.
But no, anyway, I wondering when they're going to address that, or is it just going to be a thing that we just have to live with, that these people are nuts? And
I hope they do address it. I think it'd be
I do
interesting to
too.
see what's at the root cause of it.
oh, because they
Yeah.
play it so well.
Yeah.
Every time they
Yeah.
bring it up, I'm intrigued. I like it.
Mhm.
It's like this seems like a pretty cool new wrinkle on an enemy. You know, well, that's just,
Mhm.
these are enemies you need to be afraid
Right.
of.
When he gets into
Yeah.
fanaticism like that, yeah, to the
Yeah,
point
you
of
can't even predict what they're
wanting
going
to
to
be
do.
almost like a suicide bomber or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But for what? For who?
For
You know,
what?
like,
For who?
the old empire. You're gonna do that for the Moff who just takes all the money and all the that's what he's what they're
Mhm.
doing now too. They're all greedy, just trying to So they got a contradiction going on here. I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, it's
But
interesting. I hope they actually get into that.
Corellia looked cool. I thought it was cool seeing
Yeah.
Corellia
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, it was great seeing my home.
Yeah. What did you think about the Elspeth's kind of hyperspace ring ship she
I don't
had?
know. That's going to be interesting to see
Yeah.
what it is they're creating with that. It almost
She
looks
is
like,
attaching a
Something-
bunch of hyperdrives to it.
yeah,
Something
it's
that will
just,
take them to the other galaxy.
yeah,
all
that's
it
exactly what it is.
So
It's just
like-
some giant hyperspace ring with enough
Yeah.
power to take them that far, I
It's
guess.
either going to open a portal where they can travel at super fast by using all these things together, or to me, it almost looked like the Jedi starfighter ring that takes a ship that's incapable of hyperspace and takes it to hyperspace. So maybe she's going to take this and put it on Thrawn's
Yeah.
super carrier
Then you
and
can
use
come
it to bring the
back.
super carrier
Yeah.
back
Back,
to
yeah, that could
the
be it. Yeah, I didn't think about
Imperial
that.
space. Yeah.
Because Ahsoka was clear to say that nobody's building a hyperdrive that big for any rebel ships, So
Yeah.
if he could
Mhm.
bring back a super star destroyer or whatever that Khan had, that would be something. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about it. Maybe just something they're taking to actually bring his ship back, to bring him back.
Yeah,
That's
in the books,
interesting.
he's got like a carrier, I think the Chimera or something like that.
Mhm.
And I don't, wherever they're at, I'm assuming there was talk from Pelayan and Mandalorian about resources and stuff. That's another thing. It's like, is Pelayan in charge while Thrawn is gone, and he's just pretending to be in touch with Thrawn?
Okay,
So
we
are we ready to rate? And
yeah, let's do our ratings. Or so do we just want to give one rating for the 2 episodes together?
Yeah,
Okay, since they premiered them together, let's just do one rating for both together.
sounds good.
And who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah,
go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go
you go
ahead. I
first.
want to. No, I want to
Greedo.
hear yours.
I'm gonna give it a 5.5.
Okay. All right, I'm going to give it a 7.
I'm gonna give it a 7 as well.
Okay. Interesting.
Just
I
some
thought
for
about a
us,
6,
some reserved ratings.
6.5, but
Yeah.
7.
10.5. Uh-oh.
It's mainly because of pacing for me. Like I
Yes.
said, listen.
Okay.
That and the just for me, it was the plot making no sense and not even trying to wheel out a good plot after all this time and all the time they've had to write it. I find that for me just hard to excuse. That's all. The other stuff can be fixed going
Yeah.
forward. I feel like you can explain why a person acted a certain way or why
Yeah.
but the just dumb things that never ever going to make sense no matter how you do them, and then the plot just being so kind of rancid in what we've seen before. I just don't understand it.
And in terms of
Yeah.
the pacing too, I'm not that worried about that because I think about something like Andor that was really slow burn in the first
Yeah, this
3 or
has already
4
had more action
episodes,
than
and
that had.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm not so worried about that at this point. I'm really looking forward to the rest of it. I really
Did you
enjoy
guys
it.
notice more the use of the volume as opposed to a show like Andor? Did you like in this show where you're going like, oh, are we back to this? Or you know what I mean? Like, did it seem too familiar to you, the kind of shooting in the volume, or is it a non-issue?
I didn't really
Yeah.
notice, honestly. It didn't really, that
Didn't
wasn't
bother
something that
me
crossed my
either.
mind, honestly.
I think
What
they
about
did
you?
enough world building,
Mhm.
moving around to different locations and stuff where
Yeah.
it wasn't that big an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, that's basically our take on episodes 1 and 2 of Ahsoka. Looking forward to episode 3 here shortly. And just let us know what you think down in the comments. Like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff. Thanks for supporting the channel, and we will see you next time.
Hello there. Obi-Wan Kenobi here, or James Arnold Taylor, either or. Take your pick. And this is the Cantina Club. This is the show you're looking for. Don't move along. Stay here. Good stuff. Goodbye then.